When a criminal case suddenly gets snatched away from investigators and lands on the desk of the Attorney General of the Federation, every Nigerian has a right to ask one simple question: why? What makes a case so special, so urgent, so sensitive, that it requires the direct intervention of the country's chief law officer? This isn't just a procedural question, it's a question that cuts to the very heart of our justice system. Today, we're re-diving deep into one such case that has left many people baffled and demanding answers: the Mike Ozekhome case. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you believe in transparency, accountability, and the rule of law, then you're in the right place. We're about to unravel a complex story involving powerful figures, questionable decisions, and a legal system that seems to operate on two different tracks. This isn't about gossip or personal attacks. This is about public interest and understanding how power is wielded in our country. So, buckle up. Let's start with the basics. Who is Mike Ozekhome? For those who don't know, he is one of Nigeria's most prominent and vocal lawyers, a senior advocate of Nigeria, or SAN. He's known for handling high-profile, often politically charged cases, and is a familiar face in the media, frequently commenting on national issues. His career has been as successful as it has been controversial. The core of our story begins not with a legal argument in a courtroom, but with a financial transaction. This isn't an isolated incident. More recently, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, also had a case against Ozekhome. And just like with the EFCC, the AGF stepped in and took over the case. This pattern of the AGF intervening to halt investigations by Nigeria's anti-graft agencies into the same individual raises a crucial question. Why does the AGF keep stopping these agencies from investigating Mike Ozekhome? A few years ago, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, froze a bank account belonging to Mike Ozekhome. The amount in question was significant: 75 million naira. According to the EFCC, this money was linked to an ongoing investigation. They suspected it was part of the proceeds of an unlawful activity connected to a major corruption case they were prosecuting. So far, this seems like a standard procedure for an anti-corruption agency. The EFCC often obtains court orders to freeze assets they believe are tied to financial crimes, pending the conclusion of their investigation. This is a tool they use to prevent suspects from moving or hiding potentially illicit funds. The legal battle began, with Ozekhome challenging the freezing order in court. He argued that the money was legitimate legal fees paid to him by his client for services rendered. The courts went back and forth on the issue, a classic legal tussle. But then, something highly unusual happened. Just as the case was progressing through the judicial system, the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, the AGF, stepped in. The AGF, using powers granted under the Constitution, decided to take over the prosecution of the case from the EFCC. This move, known legally as a null pros quo or a takeover, is a huge deal. It essentially means the AGF's office now has complete control over the case. They can decide to continue with the prosecution, amend the charges, or, most controversially, discontinue the case altogether. And that's exactly what happened next. Shortly after taking over, the AGF's office decided to discontinue the case against Mike Ozekhome. The frozen funds were released, and just like that, the entire matter was closed. To many observers, this was a jaw-dropping development. An active investigation by the nation's foremost anti-graft agency, which had been validated by at least one court order, was abruptly terminated by the country's top lawyer. This brings us to the central question: why? Why was the Mike Ozekhome case so important that it warranted the AGF's personal intervention? The Nigerian Constitution, specifically Section 174, gives the AGF the power to institute, take over, or discontinue any criminal proceedings in the country. However, the Constitution also states that in exercising these powers, the AGF must have regard for the public interest, the interest of justice, and the need to prevent abuse of legal process. So, we have to ask, was this intervention truly in the public interest? Did it serve the interest of justice? Let's break this down. The argument for the intervention might be that the AGF's office reviewed the case file and concluded that the EFCC had a weak case and that continuing the prosecution would amount to a waste of state resources or an abuse of the legal process against a citizen. This is the official, sanitized version you might hear. It suggests a higher legal wisdom at play, a check on the potential overzealousness of an investigative agency. But let's look at the other side, the side that has fueled widespread suspicion. The EFCC is a specialized agency created to fight financial crimes. They have investigators, financial analysts, and prosecutors who are supposed to be experts in this field. For the AGF to step in and effectively overrule their judgment, there needs to be a very compelling, transparent reason. Was that reason provided? Not in any detail that satisfied the public. This lack of transparency is where the problem lies. Silence breeds suspicion. When a high-profile case involving a very powerful and well-connected individual is suddenly dropped without a clear, public, and convincing explanation, people naturally start to connect the dots. They start to wonder if the decision was based on the legal merits of the case, or on the profile of the person involved. And this leads to the toughest question of all. Would this level of intervention have happened if the name on the bank account was not Mike Ozekhome, San? Imagine for a moment that the 75 million naira was found in the account of an ordinary Nigerian citizen, a small business owner, or a regular civil servant. Would the Attorney General of the Federation have personally intervened to halt the EFCC's investigation? The answer, many people suspect, is a resounding no. This perception of a two-tiered justice system is incredibly damaging. It creates the impression that there's one set of rules for the powerful and well-connected, and another set for everyone else. It suggests that if you have the right friends in the right places, you can make legal problems disappear. This doesn't just undermine the work of agencies like the EFCC, it erodes public confidence in the entire justice system. Justice is supposed to be blind, but in cases like this, it appears to be peeking from under the blindfold. Let's consider the power players involved. You have the EFCC, a powerful body in its own right, but one that is ultimately under the executive branch of government. Then you have the Attorney General, who is not only the chief law officer but also a political appointee, a member of the President's cabinet. And then you have Mike Ozekhome, a legal giant with immense influence and connections that span the legal, political, and social spheres of the country. When these forces collide, the outcome is often determined by more than just the facts of the case. It's determined by power dynamics. The AGF's power to discontinue a case is not absolute. It is supposed to be a tool for ensuring justice, not for shielding certain individuals from it. For example, it could be used to stop a politically motivated prosecution or a case where new evidence clearly exonerates a suspect. But when it is used in a context that looks like it is protecting an ally or a powerful figure, it becomes a weapon against the public interest. The authorities involved in this decision have largely remained silent, hoping the controversy would just fade away. They don't want these questions to be asked. They don't want us to scrutinize the how and the why behind their use of power. They prefer to operate in the quiet corridors of power, away from the prying eyes of the public. But we cannot afford to let it go. Why? Because this is not just about one lawyer or one case. It's a precedent. Every time a case like this happens and goes unchallenged, it normalizes this kind of intervention. It sends a signal to every prosecutor, every investigator, and every judge that some people are simply off limits. It tells the public that the fight against corruption is selective. Transparency is the backbone of a healthy democracy and a functioning justice system. When decisions of this magnitude are made behind closed doors, it's our duty as citizens to demand answers. We need to know the specific legal reasoning that led the AGF to conclude that this case had to be stopped. We need a detailed explanation of how discontinuing the investigation served the interest of justice more than allowing the EFCC to complete its work and present its findings in court. Let a judge decide. That's what courts are for. This isn't an attack on the office of the AGF. It is a call for that office to live up to its constitutional mandate in a way that is transparent and inspires public confidence. The power to stop a prosecution is immense, and with immense power comes the need for immense accountability. So what can we do? We can keep asking these questions. We can refuse to accept silence as an answer. We can support investigative journalism and civil society organizations that work to hold power accountable. We can have these conversations and make it clear that we are watching. The price of liberty and of justice is eternal vigilance. The Ozekhome controversy is a classic case study in the tension between power, politics, and the pursuit of justice in Nigeria. It raises fundamental questions about who our laws are designed to protect and who they are designed to prosecute. Until we get clear, satisfactory answers, the shadow of doubt will continue to hang over our justice system. This is not just a legal issue. It's a matter of national integrity. If we want a country where the rule of law applies equally to everyone, regardless of their status or connections, then we must be willing to scrutinize cases like this and demand better. The authorities don't want these questions ignored because the answers might reveal a system that is not working for the average person. But we must ignore their silence and keep demanding the truth. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful and believe in the importance of holding our institutions accountable, please hit the like button, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the issues that matter. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the AGF's intervention was justified? Let's continue the conversation there. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.